kept secrets travel.
Point number 2 for best kept secrets of how to save money whilst you guys are traveling is how you guys book your flights. If you and your mate really want to book your flight, we mentioned a tiny bit on flights with our planning episode, which is our episode number 1. And if you haven't watched that, please go and watch that before you get onto this, because it really helps us and it will help you guys learn as much as possible. But with booking flights, if you and your friend have decided you want to go on a trip, book that flight straight away, because the more seats there are on that plane, the cheaper you're going to get that flight, and the earlier you book it, the cheaper you can get it. Another case is trying to book it last minute. I know with Barcelona, we booked our flight literally, I think, 24 hours or 28 hours before we got on it, and that's why we got the deal quite cheap.
So you get it's basically a mixture between booking it really early and booking it really late, and if you go for one of them, you'll get the best option. The best way to book tickets is either Skyscanner or Google Flights or Jack's Flight Club, which we both use and which is very good, and it sends you emails every week and gives you all the special offers that are at the time. Another big thing with booking flights is don't be afraid of layovers, because layovers can be your friend. So when we went to Australia, we had a layover in Bangkok where we had 9 hours, and I'd been to Bangkok before,
And I'd never been to Thailand before at all, let alone Bangkok.
And so I knew exactly where we should go, and I took him straight to Khao San Road and we got a massage.
And you guys will hear definitely about that massage in a further episode.
But not for the reason you're thinking. And
No.
You could have been implying completely different things there.
Disclaimer on the screen now, no happy endings happened.
No, it's the saddest massage of our life.
It was hilarious, but that, what's still on the screen now, did not happen. One of the things you guys need to remember about if you're trying to take that risk in booking the late flights is you're less likely to get the flight time that you really want. You know, if you desperately want a morning flight so that you land in a certain time, you're taking a bigger risk on that. And also you're taking the risk on if those flights are highly demanded, or if a big natural occurrence or government occurrence happens that people are trying to get out of that country, there is a lot more risk that those flights will get booked up and you will miss your opportunity. But in a lot of times we found that actually taking these more spontaneous events and these trips can be so much more fun.
And with the late flights, I would actually also say be flexible with your destination. So in August 2020, which was when we just come out of sort of lockdown and we were actually allowed to fly places, I tried to go to as many places as I could, and I booked flights to Budapest. And before going to Budapest, I spoke to a Hungarian friend who told me that I wasn't allowed to go there unless I had 2 negative tests. So I then just was like, well, the flight out there was £20. I'm fine with leaving that because I don't think I can get my money back. So I then just had to book a flight to Kosice, which is eastern Slovakia, fairly near where I wanted to go, but still close and still a really cool place. And I had to literally change that the day before the flight. And then my return flight was from Vienna, and when I arrived, they then took Vienna off the green list, and I then had to change that flight as well. So I had to change both my flights, the original flights. But it's still, I had one of my favourite trips, like European
But that's the spontaneity of the trip, and that's one of the reasons why, if you use Skyscanner, there is I don't know if you mentioned it earlier, there is instead of actually typing in destination, you can click anywhere, and that will then, for your specified dates or times that you put in and how many people, that will then break down the cheapest location, cheapest country, and then the cheapest city to fly to, and that's such a great way of being able to get around Europe and trying to get those really cheap flights.
And we've got to say, actually, we've got to mention lastminute.com, because that is the website that we actually did book our flights and hotel for our Barcelona trip.
So the Barcelona trip we did mention in episode 1, but the main thing about lastminute.com for us was that about 28 hours before we went, we booked Barcelona on this spontaneous trip, and it only cost us £125 return flights with British Airways from Gatwick, including 3 nights in a 4-star hotel. which is just absolutely
With
insane.
free beer tasting.
Free beer tasting in the hotel on top of that. So all in all, we saved so much money, and it was one of my favourite trips that we've done, just because it was so spontaneous and it was last minute trip on lastminute.com.